I never imagined that the Sunday I stood to give my testimony about 40 years of faithful marriage would be the day my entire life shattered in front of 400 witnesses. But when that young man walked up to the altar during the invitation, looked directly at me, and said those two words, "Hi, Grandma," I knew that everything I'd believed about my husband, my marriage, and my family was built on a foundation of lies. My name is Patricia Hayes, and I'm 62 years old. For the past 38 years, I've been a member of Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church in Atlanta. Not just a member, a pillar. I've served on the Mothers Board for 20 years. I've coordinated Vacation Bible School for 15 years. I've taught Sunday school, organized church dinners, visited the sick, and prayed with countless women through divorces, deaths, and disappointments. When people thought of Greater Hope, they thought of three things: Pastor Reynolds' preaching, Sister Dorothy's fried chicken, and Patricia and Harold Hayes' marriage. Harold and I met in 1979 at a church revival. I was 21, fresh out of college with a teaching degree. He was 23, working as an accountant at a firm downtown. He was handsome, tall, dark-skinned, with a smile that could light up a room. But what drew me to him wasn't his looks. It was the way he carried himself in church. He sang in the choir, he ushered, he helped count offering. He was the kind of man my mother had prayed I'd find: godly, responsible, employed, and serious about his faith. We courted for 8 months, proper courting, the way it was done back then. He'd pick me up for church on Sunday mornings. We'd sit in the fellowship hall after service and talk for hours. He'd take me to dinner at respectable restaurants. He asked my father's permission before he proposed. We were married in June of 1982 at my home church, with 200 guests and a reception in the fellowship hall. Those first years were good. Harold worked hard. I taught 3rd grade at the elementary school. We bought a small house in a decent neighborhood. We were active in church, always there when the doors opened. We tried for children. For 5 years we tried, but it never happened. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with either of us. They said sometimes it just doesn't work out. I grieved. Oh, how I grieved. I'd watch women at church waddle in pregnant, watch them bring their babies to be dedicated, watch them chase toddlers through the fellowship hall, and my arms stayed empty. But Harold was good about it. He'd hold me when I cried. He'd tell me God had a plan. He'd say maybe our ministry was to other people's children, and that's why I was such a good teacher. He made peace with it easier than I did. By our 10th anniversary, I'd accepted it. We weren't going to have children. And that was okay. We poured ourselves into church work instead. Harold became a deacon in 1995. I joined the Mothers Board in 1999. We were the couple people looked up to. When young couples got married, we mentored them. When marriages hit rough patches, they came to us for counseling. We were living proof that a godly marriage could last, could thrive, could be a testimony. 40 years. We made it to 40 years. And this past Sunday, July 12, 2022, Pastor Reynolds announced during morning service that we were going to be honored during the evening program. It was our 40th wedding anniversary, and the church wanted to celebrate us. I was nervous about it. I don't like being the center of attention. But Harold was excited. He kept saying, 40 years, Patty. Not many couples make it to 40 years anymore. We've got a testimony to share. That evening, the sanctuary was packed. It seemed like half of Atlanta showed up. Our Sunday school classes came. Harold's co-workers came. My former students, now grown with children of their own, came. The sanctuary was decorated with gold and white balloons, our anniversary colors. The program was beautiful. The choir sang the Lord's Prayer. Pastor Reynolds preached a short message about covenant marriage. Then he called Harold and me to the front. We walked up together, hand in hand, the way we'd done 1,000 times. The congregation gave us a standing ovation. Harold squeezed my hand and smiled at me. That same smile that had won my heart 43 years ago. Pastor Reynolds handed me the microphone first. Sister Patricia, would you like to share some words about these 40 years? I took the microphone with shaking hands. I looked out at all those faces, people I'd known for decades, people I'd prayed with, cried with, celebrated with. 40 years ago, I began. my voice trembling with emotion. I married my best friend. I married a man who loved God, who loved me, and who committed to walk with me through whatever life brought. And life has brought us joy and sorrow, abundance and lack, mountaintops and valleys. But through it all, Harold has been faithful. He's been present. He's been the husband God called him to be. The congregation responded with amens and thank you, Jesus. I know not everyone gets to say this, I continued, but I can stand here today and say with full confidence that my marriage has been blessed. God has been good to us, and I thank him for 40 years with a man who has honored his vows, honored me, and honored the Lord. More amens, more applause. I handed the microphone back to Pastor Reynolds, my heart full. Then Pastor Reynolds did something unexpected. Before Brother Harold shares, he said, we're going to open the altar for anyone who wants to come and give their life to Christ, or rededicate their life, or pray. This testimony of faithful marriage is a powerful witness, and I believe the Spirit is moving. The musicians started playing softly. The choir hummed, and people began to move toward the altar, the way they always did during invitation time. I stood there next to Harold, my hand in his, watching people come forward. An elderly sister came up to hug me. A young couple I'd counseled came to shake our hands. A teenager I'd taught in Sunday school gave me flowers. And then I saw him. A young man, maybe 24 years old, walking down the center aisle. He was tall, dark-skinned, with broad shoulders and a determined stride. He was wearing a suit, not fancy, but clean and pressed, and he was looking directly at me. Something about him made my stomach tighten. I couldn't explain it. But as he got closer, I felt Harold's hand go rigid in mine. The young man walked right up to us. He stopped about 3 feet away. He looked at me, then at Harold, then back at me, and then he smiled. "Hi, Grandma," he said. The word hung in the air like a curse. Grandma. I stared at him, not understanding. "Excuse me?" I said, "Hi, Grandma." He was still smiling, but his eyes were hard, cold. "I'm Marcus Hayes, your son's son, your grandson." The sanctuary went silent. The music stopped. Every eye turned to us. I felt my knees buckle, but I locked them. I would not fall. Not here. Not now. "I don't have a son," I said quietly. My voice sounded far away, like it was coming from someone else. "Yeah, you do." He turned to Harold. "Don't I, Dad?" "Dad." I turned to look at Harold. His face had gone ashen. His mouth was opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. But he wasn't denying it. He wasn't saying, "This young man is confused." He wasn't saying, "There's been a mistake." He was just standing there, frozen, caught. "Harold?" My voice cracked on his name. Pastor Reynolds stepped forward. "Perhaps we should take this conversation to my office." "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "No, I've been quiet long enough. I've spent 24 years being a secret. I'm done being a secret." He looked at me again, and this time I saw it, the resemblance, the same eyes as Harold, the same mouth, the same way he tilted his head when he was thinking. Oh, God. "My mother's name was Angela Williams," Marcus continued, his voice carrying through the silent sanctuary. "She met your husband in 1996. She was working as a secretary at his accounting firm. They had an affair that lasted 2 years. She got pregnant with me in 1997. I was born March 15th, 1998. 24 years ago. I was 38 years old. We'd been married 16 years. We'd been trying for a baby for over a decade. When my mother told him she was pregnant," Marcus went on, "he gave her $5,000 and told her to handle it. She couldn't go through with an abortion, so she raised me alone. She never told anyone who my father was. She never asked him for child support. She never came to him for help. She just disappeared from his life." "Why now?" I heard myself ask. "Why are you here now?" "Because my mother died 3 months ago." His voice finally broke with emotion. "Breast cancer. In the hospital at the end, she told me the truth. She told me who my father was. She told me he was a deacon at a big church in Atlanta. that he'd been married the whole time, that he'd chosen his reputation over his own son. He pulled out his phone and held it up. On the screen was a photo. Harold, young, maybe 35 years old, with his arm around a pretty woman with a bright smile. She was visibly pregnant, and Harold was kissing her cheek. "She kept this one picture," Marcus said. "Just one. Taken at a company picnic in 1997, before he knew she was pregnant, before he told her to get rid of me." The sanctuary erupted. Gasps, whispers. Someone shouted, "Lord, have mercy!" Several people started crying. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't think. Harold finally found his voice. "Patricia, don't." I pulled my hand away from his like he was burning me. "Don't you dare say my name right now." Pastor Reynolds tried again. "Brother Harold, Sister Patricia, let's please take this to my office." "No." I said it firmly, loudly. "No, we're not taking this anywhere. This young man came here to expose a lie, and he's done it. There's nothing left to say privately that hasn't already been said publicly." I looked at Marcus, really looked at him, my husband's son. A child conceived while Harold and I were married, while we were serving in this church, while we were counseling other couples about faithfulness and commitment. While I was grieving our childlessness, Harold had a son. "Does he support you?" I asked Marcus. "Ma'am? Your father, does he support you? Help you? Know anything about your life?" Marcus shook his head. "I didn't even know who he was until 3 months ago. And when I found him and tried to talk to him 2 weeks ago, he told me to stay away from his church, away from his wife, away from his life. He said I was a mistake that should have stayed buried." I turned to Harold. He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. "Is it true?" I asked. "All of it?" He nodded. "Say it out loud. Tell this entire church what you've done." "Patricia, please, say it." His shoulders sagged. "It's true, all of it. I had an affair with Angela Williams. She got pregnant. I gave her money and told her to take care of it. I didn't know she'd kept the baby. I didn't know about Marcus until he showed up at my office 2 weeks ago." "And when he showed up," I said, my voice shaking with rage I'd never felt before, "you told him to disappear. You told your own son to disappear so you could keep playing the faithful husband. Keep playing the godly deacon. Keep accepting everyone's praise for our perfect marriage." "I was scared," Harold whispered. "I was scared of losing everything. So you chose to lose your soul instead." The silence that followed was deafening. Pastor Reynolds cleared his throat. "Brother Harold, Sister Patricia, I think, given the circumstances, it would be best if you both step down from your leadership positions until this matter can be properly addressed by the deacon board and the church leadership." Harold opened his mouth to protest, then closed it. There was nothing to say. "Sister Patricia," Pastor Reynolds continued gently, "you don't need to step down from anything. You are not responsible for your husband's choices, but I understand if you need time away from church to process this." I looked at him. This man who'd pastored me for 20 years. "Thank you, Pastor. But I'm not going anywhere. This is my church too. I've served here faithfully for 38 years. I'm not being driven out because my husband couldn't keep his vows." A few people applauded. Sister Dorothy called out, "That's right, Sister Patricia." I turned to Marcus. "You came here looking for something. What is it? Money? Acknowledgement? Revenge?" He looked surprised by the directness of my question. "I came because I wanted him to see what he threw away. I wanted him to know that I exist, that I'm not a mistake that can be erased, that I have his blood in my veins whether he likes it or not. And now that you've done that," I said, "what do you want?" He hesitated. "I don't know. I just wanted him to see me." And in that moment, despite everything, despite the betrayal, despite the humiliation, despite the 40 years of lies, I felt sorry for this young man. He hadn't asked to be born into secrecy. He hadn't asked to be rejected by his father. He was just a child, looking for the parent who'd abandoned him. "Come see me this week," I said. "Not at my house, not with him, but come see me. We'll talk." Marcus looked stunned. "Why would you want to talk to me?" "Because none of this is your fault," I said. And you deserve better than what you've gotten. Then I turned to Harold one last time. 40 years, I said softly. I gave you 40 years, and you spent at least 24 of them lying to me, living a double life, letting me believe we were childless when you had a son out there who needed his father. Patricia, I want you out of my house by Friday. Take what you need, leave your key. And don't call me unless it's through a lawyer. I walked off that altar with my head held high. I walked down the center aisle of that sanctuary while 400 people watched. I walked out into the summer night, got in my car, and drove home. And then, finally alone in the house I'd shared with Harold for 35 years, I collapsed on the kitchen floor and wept. The next few days were a blur. Word spread through the church faster than I could have imagined. My phone rang constantly. People wanted to pray with me, bring me food, sit with me. Sister Dorothy showed up with a casserole and refused to leave until I'd eaten something. You don't have to be strong all the time, she told me. You can fall apart. You're allowed. If I fall apart, I said, I don't know if I'll be able to put myself back together. Harold moved out that Friday. He left quietly, taking only his clothes and personal items. He left a letter on the kitchen table. I threw it away without reading it. Pastor Reynolds called a meeting of the deacon board. They voted to remove Harold from leadership immediately. Some people said it was too harsh. Others said it wasn't harsh enough. The church was divided. But something unexpected happened in the weeks that followed. Women started coming to me. Women I'd mentored, women I'd counseled, women I'd prayed with. And they started telling me their own stories. My husband had an affair 10 years ago. Nobody knows. My fiancée got another woman pregnant while we were engaged. I found out after the wedding. My father had a whole other family. We didn't find out until he died. Story after story after story. And I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only woman who'd been betrayed by a man who claimed to love God. I wasn't the only woman who'd discovered that the marriage she thought was solid was built on sand. Marcus came to see me 2 weeks after the anniversary disaster. We met at a coffee shop downtown. He was nervous, fidgeting with his cup, not making eye contact. "Thank you for meeting with me," he said. "Tell me about your mother," I said. So he did. He told me about Angela Williams, a woman I'd never met, who'd worked in the same building as my husband, who'd fallen for his charm and his smile just like I had. He told me how she'd raised him alone, working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. How she'd never dated because she was too busy being both mother and father. How she'd put him through community college. How she'd been so proud when he got his associate's degree and started working as a mechanic. She was a good woman, Marcus said, tears in his eyes. She made mistakes, but she was a good woman, and she deserved better than what she got. So did you, I said. He looked up at me, surprised. You deserved a father, I continued. You deserved to be claimed and loved and raised, and I'm sorry that Harold, that your father, didn't give you that. It's not your fault. I know, but I'm still sorry. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus said, I didn't come to that church to hurt you. I know it probably seems like I did, but I didn't. I was so angry. At him, at the world, at God for letting my mother die without ever getting justice for what he did to her. And I thought if I exposed him publicly, it would make the anger go away. Did it? He shook his head. No, it just made me feel empty. I reached across the table and took his hand. I can't replace your mother, and I can't fix what Harold did. But if you want a relationship with me, as complicated and messy as that might be, I'm willing to try. He started crying then, really crying. And I realized this 24-year-old man was still that little boy who'd grown up without a father, wondering why he wasn't good enough to be claimed. Over the next few months, Marcus and I built something. Not a traditional grandmother-grandson relationship. Nothing about this situation was traditional. But we built something. We met for coffee every other week. He told me about his life, his job, his dreams. I told him about my work at the school, about my friends at church, about the life I was rebuilding. Harold tried to reach out several times. Letters, calls, messages through mutual friends. He wanted to explain. He wanted to apologize. He wanted me to forgive him and take him back. I filed for divorce in September. The church was shocked. Some people supported me. Others said I was being too harsh, that marriage was sacred, that I should try to work it out. Sister Dorothy said it best. If marriage is sacred, then Harold should have treated it that way. Patricia doesn't owe him anything. The divorce was finalized in February 2023. I kept the house. I kept my maiden name that I'd given up 40 years ago. Patterson. Patricia Patterson. It felt like coming home to myself. I'm still at Greater Hope. I'm still on the Mother's Board. I still teach Sunday school. Some people thought I'd leave, but I won't. This is my church. These are my people. I didn't break any vows. I didn't betray any trust. I'm not going to be driven away from my spiritual home because Harold couldn't keep his pants zipped. Harold joined another church across town. I heard he's dating someone. Good for him. I hope he's honest with her about who he really is. As for me, I'm learning to be content with who I am. Not Harold's wife, not half of a couple everyone admired, just Patricia. A woman who loves God, who serves her church, who teaches children, who's learning what it means to rebuild a life at 62. And Marcus, my husband's son, my sort of grandson, he's part of my life now. We have Sunday dinner once a month. He calls me Miss Patty. He's dating a sweet girl named Jasmine. He's thinking about going back to school to get his bachelor's degree. A few months ago, he asked me, "Do you hate my mother for what she did?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. "No," I finally said. "Your mother was young and she made a mistake, but she owned it. She raised you. She sacrificed for you. She loved you. That takes courage, more courage than your father had." "Do you hate him?" "No. I'm angry. I'm hurt. But I don't hate him. Hate takes too much energy, and I don't have energy to waste on Harold anymore." Last week was July 12th, 2023. 1 year since that anniversary service. 1 year since my life exploded in front of 400 people. I spent it quietly. I went to church in the morning. I had lunch with Sister Dorothy. I spent the afternoon reading on my porch. And I thanked God. I thanked Him for exposing the lie I'd been living. I thanked Him for giving me the strength to walk away. I thanked Him for unexpected blessings, like Marcus, who came into my life in the worst possible way, but has become someone I care about deeply. And I thanked Him for teaching me that sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is stop pretending everything is fine when it's not. Scripture tells us in Luke 8:17 that nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. For 40 years, I thought I was living in the light. Turns out, I was living in a shadow cast by lies. But God, in His mercy, brought the truth into the open. And while the truth shattered my world, it also set me free. I'm learning that freedom sometimes looks like loss. It looks like empty spaces at the dinner table. It looks like sleeping alone after 4 decades of sharing a bed. It looks like introducing yourself without adding, "and my husband." But freedom also looks like peace. It looks like waking up without wondering what I don't know. It looks like building authentic relationships instead of performing for an audience. It looks like honoring God by refusing to live a lie just to keep up appearances. The Black church has a long tradition of valuing family, marriage, and keeping things in-house. We don't like to air our dirty laundry. We don't like to admit when our leaders fail. But that same culture of silence allowed Harold to live a double life for 24 years. That same pressure to maintain appearances almost convinced me to take him back just to avoid the shame of being a divorced woman at my age. But God doesn't call us to maintain appearances. He calls us to walk in truth, even when truth is costly. Even when it means standing alone. Even when it means losing everything you thought defined you. So if you're listening to this story and you're carrying a secret, or you're living with someone else's lies, or you're staying in something broken because you're afraid of what people will think, I want you to hear me clearly. The truth will set you free. It might hurt first. It might cost you something. but freedom is worth the price. Sisters, if this story resonated with you, if you've walked this road or know someone who has, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells me these stories matter. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever discovered a truth that shattered everything you thought you knew? You don't have to share details, just let me know I'm not alone in this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Every Wednesday and Saturday, I share stories from the Black Church, stories about faith tested, truth revealed, and grace found in unexpected places. Stories that remind us we're stronger than we think, and that God works all things together for our good, even when all things includes betrayal and heartbreak. This is Patricia Patterson, signing off. Remember, you can't heal what you won't reveal. Walk in truth, even when it's hard. God will meet you there. Be blessed.